What's the worst case of oversharing you've experienced on social media? Story 1. She and her husband married at 18 and 19 years old. She is from Canada, he's from the Bahamas. They met online through a mutual friend. They dated online for about 6 years before the marriage, but only really saw each other a couple of times before tying the knot. The whole time they dated, she posted over and over on the hour how in love she was. Meanwhile, he was never online. After they graduated and married, she moved in with him in the Bahamas and deleted every person from Canada on her Facebook. They were together for a year, and she started vague booking. No more lovely statuses about how happy they were. Then in August, she re-added her Canadian pals. Her timeline was nothing but vague, depressing posts and memes about being faithful, being a good wife/husband, true love, a strong marriage, babies, heaven, and God. Then, stuff got real. She came back to Canada at the end of August. Every single day was a long post about hating her husband, calling him a filthy, lying piece of dirt, saying she isn't divorced, but she's separated. Every day was like the page of an angry teen's diary because that's pretty much what it was. She only just turned 21 when this all happened. So then she starts posting about her miscarriage. I knew she was baby crazy, but she got unreal with it. Multiple statuses a week talking to her unalive fetus, calling it by name, and the same number of statuses written speaking to her unalive aunt, telling her to take good care of her baby. Then she posted a multi-paragraph essay about what happened between her and her husband. What I gathered was she has undiagnosed mental health issues. She saw a counselor who advised her to see a doctor about medication. She has many physical health problems that doctors don't help her with. She says she shouldn't have gotten married. He hit her dog. Now, she was a drama queen since she was very young, so I wasn't sure he actually hit her dog or if her issues were coming between them and she wanted out or both. So now, phase 3. Things get bat guano insane. She's still in Canada. Facebook is filled with heartfelt apologies and the rantings of a mad woman going on about life and God and her unalive fetus and her mistakes and his mistakes, and she starts getting more baby crazy. Eventually, she realizes that she will never have her baby without a partner. Instead of finding someone more suiting and actually divorcing him, she gets back with him. You read it right. After ruining his reputation more than it already was by being with her, she took him back. In December, they were officially back together, and he came to Canada for Christmas. In fact, he came back again, and they're here together now. She lives with her parents, and honestly, I pity what her parents must hear. All of this and much more comes from her Facebook. I think if anybody had read this and realized all this was coming from a celebrity, we would all probably be laughing or joking or eating up the details. If this is just someone that's regular, that's not famous, it kind of puts an interesting tinge on it, a more serious one that I think some of us would probably take seriously. Do you think there's that double standard going on? Let me know. Story 2. Oh, a little story I can share. A year ago, my ex added me on Facebook. I figured it was really nothing because we'd not spoken to each other since freshman year of high school, 5 years before. I added her. We spoke a bit. It was pretty okay. We were on pretty decent ground with one another, I thought. A few months go by and she begins posting these vague status updates. You know the kind. Going on about certain people, posting song lyrics and what she thinks are good poems. I figure Whatever, she's probably going through a hard time, and I've been there before. I ignore it. Then they begin getting a little more specific. So much so that I can tell she's talking about an ex. Someone who doesn't care about her anymore, and constantly shows off to try and make her jealous. Gee, that sucks. Then it hits the fan. I post the fact that, without going into too much detail here, I got work doing something that I've always wanted to do, and that it's a pretty big step for me. I thank my friend who got me the job. We planned a trip out to celebrate in the comments, and things were okay at first. I still remember her status about an hour after that. It was a little bit on the nose, but enough for me to catch on to who she was talking about. I hope that job does to you what you did to me. Well, okay. I see that, piece things together, then immediately delete and block her. I don't have time for that hogwash. My friend then contacts me, asking if I see what she's posting. She, at this point, is straight up saying my name in her stats. She's posting my picture, talking about how I'm a selfish jerk who dumped her in the trash. She's expanding on the lies and just completely jumping the shark. I realize at this point that I have a crazy ex. Rest of the story is kind of boring. My friends call her out on the hogwash. She deleted a lot of the stuff talking about me. However, she never really stopped actually posting those semi-vague statuses. To this day, I checked her, and she's still posting them every day or so. It's been a year. Wow. I have seen people that have done vague stuff like this. I've never really been part of someone who has just called someone out completely over this kind of stuff. I guess I've just never really paid attention to that kind of drama. Have you ever had anything like that happen to you? Story 3. This drama saga graced my newsfeed for months. This girl I went to high school with met and married this guy who was like 25 years his senior. Her senior. He was from out of state, and they married not long after meeting. I thought it was really weird, but whatever. Not even 2 months into the marriage, she starts posting, ranting about her new husband's ex, about how her new husband's ex won't stop stalking him. Apparently, this woman had a baby, and she was claiming it was his. Not only that, she was claiming that she was also his fiancée, and he had run out on her. My former classmate would post day in and day out about how she was just some home-wrecking shrew who wanted to ruin what they had because she was jealous. Well, one day, hubby gets served papers at work. He's being sued by this woman for child support. I know this because my classmate posted every juicy detail about it on Facebook. Her hubby vehemently denies all of it. He claims he's never even met this woman, that she's a crazy stalker, that her kid isn't his, etc. Court day rolls around, and my classmate is updating her status like crazy. Hubby is requesting a DNA test. The suspense is left to build for a few more days. You'll never guess what happened, guys. The results came back, and he totally was the father. Not only that, he was also the other woman's fiancé. Oh, hell. Now the entire story spills out. Turns out this guy skipped town once he found out his fiancée was pregnant, for whatever reason. He met and married my classmate and took her name, thinking that would somehow throw his ex off the trail so she couldn't sue him for child support. For a couple weeks, my classmate would post statuses about standing by her man no matter what. But ultimately, they were divorced by the end of the year. Oh, I've never married. No kids. Just a few dating times. And I'm so glad that that's the life I've chosen to lead after reading stories like this. Just makes me so happy. Story 4. A woman I know had a little girl who was around 6 or 7 years old, I think, when she passed away. She had an inoperable brain tumor and passed away about 2 years after her diagnosis. Towards the end of her life, they took her home to spend her last days in the comfort of her own bed, familiar surroundings, being with family, etc. Within an hour after her daughter drew her last breath, she decided to take pictures of her body, still in her bed, and post them on Facebook to announce her passing. I won't go into the details of the state her freshly deceased daughter was in, but let's just say passing away slowly doesn't look pretty. The worst part was I was just minding my own business, mindlessly scrolling through my Facebook feed watching cat videos, and then suddenly I was looking at like 6 different pictures from all angles of an unalived child. Ultimately, I chose not to say anything, unlike other people, because, her daughter literally just passed away. So if she makes some questionable decisions, it's kind of understandable. Story 5. Not trashy, but the scariest. A friend from high school began posting things to his closest friends' FB walls. Things like, "You've been a great friend, and it meant the world to me." He did this for at least 5 friends that I could see. The messages kept getting darker and darker, but it was the middle of the workday, so no one seemed to see them. No comments or anything. I barely knew the guy, but I knew something wasn't right. I called one of his closest friends and told her to look at her Facebook right now. I told her about the other messages. Luckily, she was able to get online at the time. She said she'd call him and talk to him. Apparently, he didn't answer his phone, so she drove to his house. She banged on the door, but he didn't answer. She broke in and found him on his bed, passed out from an overdose. She called 911 and saved his life. Of course, I didn't find out about any of this until the next day when she called me. I'm so very glad that I noticed all his messages and reached out to his friend. He was in the hospital for a while and received some deep therapy. Eventually, he messaged me to say thank you. Story 6. A close childhood friend's full descent into schizophrenic madness, documented daily with as much as 20 Facebook status updates over the course of the past 6 years. At first, it was just him finding religion, then it went full fundy, then it got hateful. Gays, cancer patients, basically everyone deserves unaliving. Then he started seeing and hearing things, and now he thinks he's a prophet. Literally a modern-day Noah. He has left the sinful world behind and is preparing a cult compound, his ark, for the end of days on a farm his wealthy, enabling father bought him. Facebook is his means of preaching to the outside world. He believes America is Sodom, and when the end comes, the few remaining righteous will be saved on his farm, and he will be a king. He also believes the Lord has promised him a wife and that she is coming to the farm any day now. Funny how the date of arrival keeps getting pushed back. He even posts pictures of her. Very creepy. I reverse image searched them on Google, and she's just some random girl from California who probably has no idea who he is. It's fascinating. Like witnessing a train wreck. You just can't look away. Starting a cult just sounds so unmodern. I just can't even believe in today's technological times that people still start cults. For some reason, it just doesn't click in my mind. It sounds like it shouldn't even be possible. The people can have crazy beliefs and everything, but actually starting a cult, I don't see how anyone could let themselves get that deep into some type of belief system or follow someone like that. The ex-husband of a girl I work with passed away. She found out and posted it on Facebook immediately, literally moments after it happened. She wrote down plain and clear that he passed away of an overdose before it was even established that he had. Apparently, a bunch of his family saw it, including his mother, and found out about his passing this way. They texted her in anger about it the next day, telling her it was disrespectful, and they got into a giant text battle where they asked her to bring over his children to mourn with the family, and she replied with personal things about how people were intimately abused in his family as kids and that the family would never see them again. I know all this because she posted screenshots on Facebook of the conversation as it was happening. His family started replying things like, "What's wrong with you? And why are you doing this to us?" But she just wrote back things like, "Shut up, you alcoholic." This went on for days. Not gonna lie, I got some popcorn and watched the show. These people are all working professionals. I'm talking teachers and nurses. How she didn't lose her job is beyond me.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 8. Not on social media, but I worked with a lady in her 60s. She was like a gold mine for awkward overshares. She had this skill of interjecting awkward, gross stuff into conversation. It would go like this, and these are actual quotes. "Hey, Miss Peggy, how are you today?" "Not good. My stomach has been off since I started this cleansing diet. Went through 3 pairs of pajamas last night." Wait, what? Did you just tell me at work that you sharted multiple times last night? In what world is that a normal thing to say? Or, "Hey, Miss Peggy, did you see the pony out front today at the petting zoo fundraiser? It was really cute." "We had a pony growing up in Mormon, Utah, where my family was part of a polygamous sect. My grandfather used to bend my sister over a trunk in the attic and violate her while she stared out the window at the pony and tried to focus on the pony to take her mind out of the moment. She told several people, but they were all so brainwashed by the cultish sect that nobody would do anything, and the police ignored her." That is a pretty fracked up response to, "Hey, did you see the pony?" at 9 a.m. in the workplace break room. Story 9. There was a girl I went to high school with who once posted pictures of a clear plastic decorative skull filled with gunk that appeared to be hanging from the ceiling in her house. She then went on to explain in the caption and comments that the skull was filled with period blood that she had been collecting from a diva cup and putting it into a plastic skull in her living room. Beyond the obvious question of why would you do that in the first place, but why on earth would you share pictures of that on Facebook? I'm still baffled to this day. Worst piñata ever. Story 10. This train wreck girl I went to high school with. My brother and I have coworkers who add her just for the pure entertainment value. She's tamed down because she recently had a baby, much to society's dismay. But among other things, she's live updated her Facebook feed on cheating on her husband, justifying her decision to do so because the guy works at Subway and was going to be the manager soon, so he's better than her husband anyway, her cat's labor, the subsequent rekindling of her marriage, her blowout fight with her sister-in-law and brother over them apparently not allowing her to see her niece, her brain tumor, her multiple ear infections, and how drunk she is times 1,000. Story 11. One of the best weddings I've ever been to was for a couple I didn't know. I was just there as +1. Seriously fun wedding, and the bride and groom seemed like cool people, so I added them on Facebook. About 6 to 7 months later, the vague booking began. Then the divorce announcement, and then things went crazy. The guy posted an incredible amount of updates about his feelings, the divorce, and how she cheated. The woman, understandably, locked down her privacy settings around this time, but he kept the show going. Within 2 months of the divorce, he had met someone new, documented every date, proposed, moved in together, got married again, and quit his job. It's been an interesting little soap opera in my news feed. Story 12. This guy I knew from high school used to post so much personal trash about his extremely rocky relationship, which has produced several kids. His statuses would be along the lines of, "Can't wait till I get home and frack my girl." He really did spell words the wrong way. And, "Come back to me," girl's name, "our kid asking where you are." Or, "Just got out the drunk tank, gonna go make up with my girl." It was like watching a train go off the rails. Lately, he seems to have gotten his stuff slightly more together. He mostly posts about tattoos now. Story 13. Someone commented on every rest stop they made on a 3-day road trip and described in way too much detail about their IBS issues. In between her reviews were updates on having to hold it, a countdown of miles to the next rest stop every 5 or 10 minutes for a while and what she expected to happen, what restaurants she's never going to again, and requests for med suggestions other than Imodium or Pepto. I don't want to know that about my family, let alone someone I know from work. I realized I'm better off just talking to friends and family rather than knowing such intimate details of everyone I've ever met, and deleted my account before her trip was over. Story 14. A guy that I went to high school with professes his love of strip clubs, how they're better than a real relationship, his preference of clubs, and hogwash laws that pertain to strip clubs wherever he goes. Another woman I went to high school with posted several rantings about her cheating husband she caught banging another woman in his car just down the street, and about how small his tool is. Another guy I went to high school with recently started a GoFundMe to pay his rent. Man, I'm glad I moved away from that town. Story 15. One girl I used to go to high school with posted a status like, "Worst Christmas ever," and her partner replied saying, "It wasn't that bad. I'm sorry." She then posts saying, "You slept with a paid spicy partner under the Christmas tree on Christmas Eve whilst your kids and I slept in the next room. Happy holidays." I am laughing at her partner saying it wasn't that bad. Yeah, maybe not for you. Story 16. Some girl was bragging to her rival Sloot that she stole her man and posted a pic of his tool. Rival Sloot replies with, "Nah, that ain't him. This is what his tool looks like," and posted another tool pic. First girl decides to post more to compare. Ended up posting about a dozen tool pics from what seemed like 4 to 6 different men trying to out-sloot each other. A good old-fashioned sloot down. Story 17. After recovering from a horrific labor, I asked my husband to load 2 pictures off of my camera on Facebook. He did that, plus the whole freaking roll. My abused, swollen, bloody vag had a 3rd-degree tear stitched up, was on Facebook for over 24 hours before my brother alerted me. No one else fracking told me. I'm still ticked, and this was 3 years ago. He doesn't touch the fracking camera. Ever. Story 18. This girl from my high school, a year younger than me, posted statuses for about 5 months complaining about how people would ask her when she was expecting or due to give birth at her job, hairdresser, and how angry she was and that she was just fat. Fast forward 1 month, so I just found out I'm 8 months pregnant. How do you not know for 8 months? Story 19. Guy I went to school with posted a status, most likely while drunk based on the 1 a.m. timestamp, asking if any guy on his friends list was interested in smashing his wife while he watched. One of his family members called him out on that not being something to post on Facebook, and he got into an argument with them. Story 20. When my friend was posting her doctor's comments on her cervix and its condition, velvety and pliable if you're wondering, I was freaking done. Nope. If a doctor told me any part of my body was velvety and pliable, I would immediately post that on Facebook. That stuff is funny as hell. Story 21. A girl I went to high school with live tweeted her entire labor. Updates every 10 minutes about how dilated she was, how badly she felt like she had to push, how terrified she was that she was going to poop on the table. Lol, oops, she did poop on the table. Story 22. 48 hours after the wedding, she posts to Facebook, "I guess I suck at marriage. Anybody need a roommate?" They're still together, and her updates are constant drama. Friends of mine have a bingo board for the day's statuses. Story 23. A friend of a friend of a family friend posted the announcement of my mother's unaliving on Facebook, tagging many, many people, without asking or knowing anything about what happened, which was clearly evident by the fact that my mother was not actually unalive. Story 24. A Facebook friend recently posted pictures of all of her used adult toys, complaining that she didn't know that specific lubes aren't meant to be used on silicone toys. I was done with the internet for the day after that. Story 25. Girl posted about how she didn't like taking it up the butt, and that she was announcing this fact so that future boys would stop asking her to put it up the butt. Story 26. People posting proof that their toddler used the potty. I don't want to see your child's literal poop. Thanks. Story 27. A 10-year-old posted that he got his first pubic hair. I'm sure he'll be cringing about it his whole life. Story 28. I saw a live birth on my Facebook feed. I did not need to see my friend's vag. Story 29. You really don't need to share the corn that you watch.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.